After a long day at work, I came home to find candles, roses, and a dinner set for two. Smiling, I called out my husband's name, but then I heard a woman's laughter from our bedroom. I slowly picked up a knife from the table and whispered, "Hope you both enjoyed your last meal here." I got home late that night. Work had drained every last bit of energy out of me, and all I wanted was to kick off my shoes, pour myself a glass of wine, and collapse onto the couch. My phone was dead, my feet ached, and I was already thinking about the leftovers I'd heat up before heading straight to bed. But the second I stepped inside, I froze. The lights were dimmed. Soft music played from the Bluetooth speaker in the kitchen. The scent of roses mixed with something warm and rich, something home-cooked. On the dining table, there was a full dinner spread. Steak, mashed potatoes, a side of roasted vegetables. 2 plates. 2 glasses of wine already poured. A vase in the center with deep red roses. Candles flickering. For a moment, I smiled. Daniel did all this? We'd been married for 6 years, and while he had his flaws, he wasn't a bad husband. Lately, though, things had felt off. I couldn't put my finger on it, but I figured maybe work stress, money, or just life was making things weird. Maybe this was his way of making up for it. I dropped my bag onto the floor and slipped off my coat. "Daniel?" I called out, my voice echoing through the quiet house. Nothing. I glanced at the dinner table again. "Baby?" Silence. Then, I heard it. A sound so out of place, so wrong, that my entire body tensed before my mind could even process it. A woman's laugh. It came from our bedroom. A laugh, soft and teasing, followed by a shuffling noise. Sheets rustling. My heart pounded so hard I could hear it in my ears. For a few seconds, I stood there, staring at the hallway leading to our bedroom, trying to convince myself that I'd misheard. That maybe the TV was on, or maybe he had company over for some stupid reason. But the laughter came again. This time, muffled words followed. My body moved on its own. My hand reached for the kitchen counter, fingers wrapping around the handle of a knife. I didn't even think about it. Just held it, breathing slow and steady, my mind blank. "Hope you both enjoyed your last meal here." I walked forward, step by step, gripping the knife so tight my knuckles turned white. The door to our bedroom was cracked open. I reached it. I pushed it open. The world tilted. Daniel was in our bed. Shirtless. Hair messy. Lips swollen. And she was next to him. A woman. A stranger. In my sheets. Her red lipstick was smudged, her bare shoulder peeking from under the blanket as she turned her head toward me. At first, she looked confused. Then, when she saw the knife in my hand, her face paled. Daniel, on the other hand, didn't even flinch. He just stared at me for a second before rolling onto his back, letting out a long sigh, and rubbing his temples like I was an inconvenience. Like I was the one interrupting him. "Oh," he muttered, voice groggy. "You're home early." I didn't move. I didn't speak. I just stood there, staring, trying to force my brain to understand what I was looking at. Neither of them rushed to cover themselves. Neither of them tried to explain. The woman just sat there, watching, and Daniel? He closed his eyes, like he was annoyed. Something inside me snapped. I felt my grip on the knife tighten, but instead of lunging forward like the burning part of me wanted to, I took a slow, deep breath. Then, I smiled. I took a step into the room, tilting my head. "Enjoying yourselves?" The woman swallowed. Daniel cut her off. "Don't start, okay? Let's just," he exhaled sharply, swinging his legs off the bed and standing up. "I was gonna talk to you about this." I blinked. He said it like we were discussing renovating the bathroom. I stared at him, at his complete and utter lack of shame, and felt something dark and ugly coil inside me. I glanced at the woman again. She was young. Mid-20s, maybe. Pretty, if you liked the smug, self-satisfied type. Her arms were still crossed over her chest, but she'd stopped looking nervous. Now, she was looking at me like she had one. Like she knew something I didn't. Like I was pathetic. I could feel my pulse pounding in my neck. And then Daniel, in the most casual, infuriating tone I had ever heard in my life, said, "Can we not do this right now? Not do this right now." I let out a breathless laugh. I turned around and walked back to the dining room, ignoring the way Daniel called after me. I set the knife down on the table. I grabbed my phone. And I made a call. The first was to a locksmith. "How soon can you be here?" The second? The police. "Hi, yeah, my husband and his mistress are trespassing. No, he doesn't have the right to stay here. My name is the only one on the lease. The third? The bank. I had access to all our joint accounts. And in the span of 5 minutes, every single cent was transferred into my personal savings. By the time Daniel stumbled out of the bedroom in a pair of sweatpants, rubbing his face like this was some kind of inconvenience, I was already putting on my coat. Where are you going? He asked, his tone almost irritated. I grabbed my keys. The better question, I said, opening the door, is where you're going. The second I stepped outside, the locksmith pulled up to the curb. Daniel followed me out, eyebrows furrowing. What the hell are you? The locksmith waved. You the one who called? I smiled. Yep. Front and back locks, please. And the garage, too. Daniel blinked. You can't be serious. Oh, I am. The police car pulled up right as the locksmith got to work. 2 officers stepped out. Sir, one of them said to Daniel, you need to leave the premises. Daniel laughed. Are you kidding me? The officer shook his head. No, sir. Your wife, excuse me, ex-wife, made it clear that you are no longer welcome here. Daniel turned to me, mouth open like he was about to argue. But I was already getting into my car. I rolled down the window. Hope you enjoyed your meal. Then, I drove away. I didn't go far. I pulled into a gas station down the road, parked, and gripped the steering wheel so hard my fingers ached. My chest felt hollow, like someone had scooped my insides out and left nothing but an echo. The streetlights buzzed outside. My hands were shaking. I wasn't sad. I wasn't heartbroken. I was furious. Because Daniel wasn't shocked. He wasn't scared or ashamed. He was annoyed, like I had overreacted. Like I was a child throwing a tantrum instead of a wife catching her husband balls deep in another woman in our bed. I replayed it all. His sigh. The way he rubbed his temples. The way she just sat there, all smug and untouchable. I wanted to hurt them. Not physically. That would be too easy. I wanted to take everything. My phone buzzed. Daniel. I let it go to voicemail. A text followed. We need to talk. Call me. I laughed out loud. I texted back, we talked. You just didn't listen. Then, I turned my phone off and drove. I stayed with my sister that night. Told her everything. Showed her the bank transfer, the police report, the locksmith receipt. She laughed so hard she nearly cried. Oh, he's done. I felt lighter hearing it out loud. Like I hadn't just imagined everything. Then, she asked, you really think that's the last of it? I frowned. What do you mean? She leaned forward, voice dropping. Guys like him don't just walk away. And she was right. Because when I woke up the next morning, my phone was flooded with missed calls and texts. Not just from Daniel. From his mom. From his sister. From his boss. I sat up, confused, and opened the first text from his mom. Why would you put Daniel in this situation? This is humiliating for all of us. Can't you two talk it out? The next was from his sister. You really locked him out? You know he has nowhere to go, right? Then, his boss. He didn't show up for work. He won't answer his phone. What's going on? I let out a slow breath. Daniel had run to everyone, not to apologize, but to play the victim. I called his sister first. Did he tell you why I locked him out? I asked. A pause. Then, he said you overreacted. I laughed. Did he mention the other woman in our bed? Silence. Then, she hung up. His boss was next. Sorry, I don't know where he is, I said. But if you find him, let him know I changed the locks. I hung up before he could respond. Daniel wanted pity. He wanted to twist the story, make me look cruel while conveniently leaving out the part where he cheated. I could have ignored it. I could have moved on. But then, I saw a voicemail. From the other woman. I hesitated, then pressed play. A deep breath, then, you're really pathetic, you know that? My blood went cold. She laughed, soft and cruel. Do you think you won? Locking him out? Taking his money? You're just making him hate you. I stared at my phone, stomach twisting. You think I'm just some fling? That he's crying over you? He's with me. I felt something sharp and ugly bloom in my chest. I hope you're ready, she said. Because he's not done with you yet. The voicemail ended. I swallowed hard. Then, I pressed save, because something told me I was going to need it. I sat there, gripping my phone so tight my fingers ached. "He's with me." That's what she said. I wasn't surprised. But the way she said it, the smugness, the certainty, the threat in her voice, made my stomach turn. I replayed the message again, just to make sure I wasn't imagining things. "You think you won? Locking him out? Taking his money? You're just making him hate you." "Hate me?" I laughed out loud. I grabbed my coffee, took a sip, and shook my head. "Good. Let him hate me." I hoped every time he checked his empty bank account, he felt it. I hoped every time he had to explain to someone why he was sleeping in his car, he choked on it. But something about this still felt wrong. Not her. Not him. Something else. Something I couldn't put my finger on. Then, my phone vibrated again. Another text, this time, from an unknown number. "You should have stayed quiet." I froze. The words sat there, blunt and final, glaring at me from the screen. I stared at them, my heart suddenly pounding for an entirely different reason. Who the hell was this? I tapped the message, clicked the info icon. No name. No profile picture. Just a blank number. My mouth went dry. I exhaled slowly, then typed back, "Who is this?" The dots popped up immediately. Whoever it was, they were waiting. Then, "You think you're so smart. You think you know everything. But you have no idea." I sat up straight. Was this Daniel? No, this wasn't his number. I knew every single one of his. Was this her? Maybe. But why wouldn't she just text me from her own number? Something about this was off. Way, way off. I locked my phone and rubbed my temples. I needed to think. I had expected anger. Expected tantrums. Expected Daniel to beg, threaten, maybe even try to guilt-trip me. But this? This felt like something else. Something I hadn't prepared for. I drove back to my house later that afternoon, parking a few doors down just in case Daniel was lurking around. I hadn't heard from the locksmith yet, but I figured it was best to double-check. The second I stepped onto my porch, I knew something was wrong. The front door was locked, just like I left it. But the doormat was slightly crooked. The potted plant by the entrance had shifted. I checked the handle. Still locked. I glanced around, stomach tight. My neighbors' cars were in their driveways. Birds chirped. The world looked normal. But I could feel it. Someone had been here. I grabbed my phone and texted the locksmith. "Hey, has anyone been by the house yet?" He replied almost instantly. "Just me. Installed the new locks an hour ago. Nobody else." I clenched my jaw. If he didn't come back, then who? The bushes rustled. I spun around so fast I nearly dropped my phone. Nothing. Just wind. Right? I swallowed hard, took one last look around, then hurried inside, locking the door behind me. I checked every single room. The kitchen, the bathroom, the guest room, my bedroom. Nothing. Everything was exactly as I left it. I let out a breath, forcing myself to relax. Maybe I was just paranoid. Maybe Daniel was getting in my head. Maybe, my phone buzzed. Another text from the unknown number. "I was there. I saw you." My blood turned to ice. My ears started ringing. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. Then another message. "You locked him out. But you didn't lock me out." My grip tightened around my phone. My hands were shaking. I typed, "Who are you?" No answer. I stood in my own house, in my own living room, and felt watched. I ran to the front door. Locked. Double-checked the back door. Locked. Windows. Shut. I grabbed a knife from the kitchen and backed into a corner. Then, my phone vibrated one last time. A picture. Of me. Standing on my porch. From less than 10 feet away. I stared at the picture, my breath stuck in my throat. It was me, standing on my own porch, looking down at my phone. Taken from somewhere close. Taken moments ago. The world around me blurred. My heart pounded so hard I could feel it in my fingertips. This wasn't Daniel. This wasn't the woman he cheated with. This was someone else. Someone who had been watching me. I swallowed hard, fingers tightening around the knife in my other hand. I turned in slow, careful circles, scanning every shadow in my house. I was alone. But I didn't feel alone. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number, you shouldn't have embarrassed him. I inhaled sharply. This was about Daniel. Some twisted friend? His family? One of his coworkers? I forced my shaking hands to type back, "Who the hell are you?" No response. Seconds ticked by. Then, another message. A video this time. I hesitated, then pressed play. It was dark, grainy, security camera footage. My house. And in the footage, a figure standing at my bedroom window in the middle of the night. Watching me. From inside my own yard. My stomach twisted so hard I thought I'd be sick. Then the video cut off. Another text, "We'll see each other soon." I dropped the phone. It clattered against the hardwood floor. No. No, no, no. I wasn't doing this. I wasn't playing their game. I grabbed my car keys and bolted. I drove straight to the police station, barely aware of my own movements. I told them everything, about Daniel, the cheating, the threats, the unknown number. They took my phone, scrolled through the messages, and the officer on duty let out a slow breath. "Do you have any idea who this could be?" he asked. I shook my head. No. But whoever it is, they know Daniel. They're mad that I kicked him out. The officer exchanged a look with his partner. "Ma'am," he said carefully. "Do you have a security system at home?" "No. Just deadbolts." He nodded, then leaned forward, voice dropping. "Do you have a gun?" The question sent a chill down my spine. "No," I admitted. He exhaled through his nose. "Might be time to change that." I sat there, gripping the edge of my seat, feeling my entire world tilt. This wasn't just cheating anymore. This was something else. I stayed with my sister again that night. She kept her TV on, the volume low, while we sat curled up on her couch. Neither of us spoke for a long time. Then, she broke the silence. "You think it's him?" she asked quietly. "Daniel?" She nodded. I thought about it. About the way he had acted when I caught him. About the way he didn't look surprised. About how he knew I'd leave. And something clicked. Daniel had been too calm. Too detached. Like he had expected me to find out. Like he had wanted me to react. Like this wasn't about the affair at all. Like this was about something else entirely. I didn't sleep that night. I waited. And sure enough, at 2:34 a.m., my phone buzzed again. "Unknown number, you're smarter than I thought. But not smart enough." That was it. No threats. No pictures. Just that one, final message. I stared at it for a long time before I typed back, "Daniel." No response. But I knew. I knew in my gut. It was him. Or someone doing this for him. And suddenly, it all made sense. The fancy dinner. The candles. The fact that he didn't even react when I caught him. He had set me up. He had wanted me to walk in and see it. He had wanted me to lose it. Because if I had done anything, if I had snapped, if I had thrown something, if I had made one wrong move, he could have flipped it. He could have called the cops first. Could have said I was unstable. Dangerous. And then, he wouldn't be the cheating husband. He'd be the victim. I felt cold all over. This wasn't just about an affair. Daniel had been planning something bigger. Something that didn't work because I had stayed calm. And now? Now he was pissed. I didn't go home. Not that night. Not the next day. Not the next week. I had my sister help me pack a bag, and I went somewhere he wouldn't expect. A friend's place. Someone he didn't know. And then I started making my own plans. First, I hired a lawyer. Then, I filed a restraining order. And finally, I did something I knew would ruin him. I called his job. And I told them everything. Because Daniel worked for his family's company. A company built on reputation. A reputation that didn't include cheating scandals, police reports, and threats against an ex-wife. They didn't fire him. But they cut him off financially. His family was done. And just like that, Daniel went from living in a house I paid for to sleeping in his car with nowhere to go. I got one last message from him. A real one. Not from an unknown number. Just a simple text. "You ruined me." I read it twice. Then, I typed back, "No. You did that yourself." And I blocked his number. It took time. Months of therapy. Months of looking over my shoulder. Months of unlearning the fear. But eventually, I healed. I moved. I started fresh. And I never heard from Daniel again. But sometimes, late at night, when I'm alone with my thoughts, I think about that last text. You ruined me. And I wonder if, wherever he is, he still believes it. I hope he does.